Hi, you guys. We are working on semester 1 review packet. I'm going to start right here with unit 1. So find your giant packet. This is the unit 1 video. I'm going to do a video for each unit. Here I am, unit 1, and here we go. All right, so remember for these first weird looking problems, this was very beginning of the year. We had to follow PEMDAS. So just remember, you might want to write this down if you don't remember what each of these letters stands for, but P stands for parentheses. So right now I have a parentheses right here. So 1 minus 4 is -3. And I'm going to recopy everything else in the problem. All I dealt with was the parentheses, so I did that first. P is done. Exponents next. I do not have any exponents. Super. Screw that. Okay, M. That means multiply. So I can multiply these two things together. 2 times -3 makes -6. So I'm going to do that. Keep everything else in the problem the same. Okay, multiply is done. Divide, I don't have any division. Okay, add and subtract, I don't have anything there either. So what I need to do is I need to evaluate the absolute value of -6. Remember that absolute value always changes the number on the inside to a positive number because it means how far away from 0 is -6. -6 happens to be 6 spaces away from 0. But here's the tricky thing. This negative sign that's right here needs to stay. Okay, so we cannot combine these into a double negative because one of them's inside the absolute value and one of them's outside. So I'm going to deal with the absolute value. It works just like a parentheses does. The absolute value of -6 is 6. And then this negative sign stays here. So my answer, my final answer for this one is -6. These, I think, might be the trickiest problems that you're going to have to do. Let's do PEMDAS again over here. P-E-M-D-A-S. Okay, the P stands for parentheses. I'm going to do this first. 9 minus 7 is 2, and I'm going to keep every single other thing in the problem exactly the same. P is done. Now let's look for exponents. The E stands for exponent. So here's an exponent, 2 to the third. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Please use your calculator and don't like estimate or guess or think it's 2 times 3. That's not okay. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Okay, did the exponents. Next is multiply. Do I have anywhere to multiply here? There we go. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, I'm going to do that. 8. Keep everything else in the expression the exact same. M is done. Do I have any D's for divide? Nope. So don't do that. Do I have an A for add? 8 plus 8 is 16. Done. Didn't even have to do the subtraction, right? Okay. Let me do a couple of these other ones. Number 4. Okay, just solving. So we are trying to get the x by itself. Okay, that's the goal. That's what solve means. Get x by itself. You're going to have x equals 5 or x equals -1 or whatever. So the first thing to do in order to get the x by itself is I'm going to move the 9 over. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. I would suggest keeping it all nice and lined up, and I know a lot of you like to draw this line here for the equals because whatever you do on one side, you have to do on the other side of the line over here. Why didn't I add right here? Because you can't combine an x with a whole number. And I'm just trying to cancel this 9. And this is the other side of the equation, so you put the 9 here. Now I've got 3x on this side. I'm going to keep my equal sign. This is gone. And I have -12 plus 9. Use your calculator. That gives you -3. In order to get x by itself, I need to now, right now it's 3 times x. The opposite of times is divide. When you divide both sides by 3, that cancels, and I just have x over here. That's what I want. That's what I needed to get x by itself. And -3 divided by 3 is -1. Okay, let's try over here. Here's my equal bar. What happens when I have an x on each side? That makes it a little bit trickier. What you can do is you can combine. Let's say if I wanted to move this +4 over, that means that I need to subtract it from both sides. And I'm going to keep it lined up with the x terms because I know that I can't combine an x with a whole number. Those are not like, so I can't combine those. So I'm going to combine it with the x term. And whatever you do on one side of the equation, you have to do on the other side. Okay, here we go. That's gone. I still have 11 over here. I still have my equal sign. I still have +3, but I can combine these because they both have an x in them. -2 minus 4 makes -6x. Okay, so I'm making it a little bit simpler. Now maybe I will move the 3 over. I'm trying to get x by itself, so I want to get this plus 3 out of the way, and the opposite of plus 3 is minus 3. So now I have negative 6x on this side. Keep your equal sign. And 11 minus 3, you can combine those. Those are just whole numbers. 11 minus 3 is 8. Okay, now it's negative 6 times x, so I need to, the opposite of times is divide. Cancel that, and I have x equals 8 divided by 6. That does not divide evenly. You will have a calculator. I would say yes, it's okay to leave your answer like this, but I know that it's a multiple choice test, and I bet the answer choices are going to be reduced. So you probably won't see the answer choice of 8 over 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce that number. Both of those numbers divide by 2. So the numerator, 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. The denominator, 6 divided by negative 2 gives me negative 3. That is your answer. Or if your answer choices are decimals, then you can type 8 divided by negative 6 in your calculator and see which answer works. Okay, let's try number 6. I'm going to distribute. That's the first thing I think of when I see a number outside of parentheses like that. And I think you guys are mostly the same. When you see that, you want to distribute. So 3 times k is 3k. Keep the minus sign. And then when I do 3 times 2, I get 6 equals 18. Now I'm, again, just trying to get the k by itself. In this case, it's usually an x, but they just gave me a different letter, so whatever. I'm still just trying to keep my equal bar here. I want to get k by itself, so maybe I'll get rid of this minus 6 first. Let's add 6 to both sides to cancel it. That means I have 3k on this side. Keep your equal sign. 18 plus 6 gives me, what is that, 24? And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3 because it's 3 times k, and the opposite of times is divide. 24 divided by 3, check your calculator, you get 8. Okay. How about this one, number 7? I know we saw a few of these way early in the semester, but how do I get rid of a fraction to get the x by itself? What you're going to do is you're going to times both sides by the refliprical. Do you remember refliprical? Flip means flip this fraction, because 5 times 4 and 4 times 5, that cancels out, and you're just left with x on this side. And on the other side, what you have to do is you can use your calculator. Just do 10 times 5 divided by 4. What that gives you is, let me think for a second, 50 over 4, which is 25 over 2, which is the same thing as 12 and a half. You can write it like that too if you want to. That, my friends, is our final answer. Either of those is correct. It is multiple choice, so if you have your fraction, if you have your answer as a fraction and the answer choices are all decimals, you use your calculator to figure out which one is right. All right, I just have 2 more to do, you guys. Do you remember for absolute value equations, remember that this has to be a positive number. What we're going to do is we're going to split and we're going to write it in 2 different equations. I'm going to write exactly what you see here without the absolute value bars. That's my first equation. And my other equation is exactly this, but with a negative 11. So 2x plus 7 equals negative 11. And that's how you do absolute value equations. We will put one of these on our note card or our note sheet for the final. But now I just have to solve both of these equations. So I'm going to minus 7 from both sides to get the x by itself. 11 minus 7 is 4. Divide both sides by 2. There's one of my answers. So just remember, for these problems, you're going to split that 11 and write negative 11. And everything else stays exactly the same. That's going to give you 2 different answers. I'm going to start over here by dividing or minusing 7 on both sides, just like I did the other one. Use your calculator. Be careful with these negatives. Negative 11 minus 7 is negative 18. And I'm going to divide 2 everywhere. So I get negative 9 for my other answer. All right, very last one. We'll put one of these on our note sheet too. When you see a fraction equals a fraction. I'm actually going to write this so that you remember. Fraction equals fraction. That means cross multiply. Do you remember what I mean when I say cross multiply? These are actually pretty simple. These are some of my favorites to do, but I'm going to cross this way. 2y times 7 gives me 14y. I'm actually going to write that. I don't like the way I wrote that. 2y times 7. Keep the equal sign in the middle. This equal sign stays right there. And then I'm going to cross the other way. 5 times y minus 3. Okay, now I just have to like clean this thing up a little bit. So when you do 2y times 7, you get 14y. Keep the equal sign. And yes, on this side I will distribute. So that gives me 5y minus 15. So it's 5 times y gives you 5y, and 5 times 3 is 15. Keep this minus sign here. Now I just need to solve this. I want to combine my y's. I have a y on this side and a y on this side, so I guess I will subtract 5y. Because it's positive, to cancel it, you want to subtract it. And because this is a y and this is a y, you should keep those lined up, and yes, you can combine them. 14 minus 5 is 9. Y. And over here I still have my negative 15. Be really careful that you don't lose this negative sign. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 9 to get y by itself. And I get y equals negative 15 over 9. And I bet if you leave your answer like that, you will not see that answer choice. And that's because this fraction reduces. So you might have to think, or you could check in your calculator. But did you know that both of these numbers divide by 3? And so on the multiple choice final exam, the answers will be in lowest terms, which means reduced. And when I do 15 divided by 3, it's negative 5. It's negative because of this negative sign right here. And when I do 9 divided by 3, I get 3. That is the answer choice that you will see on the final. This is also correct, but I don't think it's going to be a choice because you can reduce it. Okay, that concludes Unit 1. Thanks for watching, guys.